Good evening and welcome to the Italian Impact Podcast. I am your co-host, Steve Stefano Mancini.
And my name is Claudio Relsano, and thank you so much for tuning in.
All right, Claudio, welcome back. This is kind of a short break between the last episode.
Yeah,
I think
with Ray Mancini, right?
Well, no, we had Nick after Ray.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because Ray gave me, I tell you what, I took some of Ray's advice really, really serious. You know, there was just a few things he said, the business stuff, you know, and I don't know, I've really been reflecting on that. He really, for lack of a better term, instilled some wisdom in me. Now, whether I'll actually process it and use it is a whole other thing, but I've been reflecting on it, and that's half the battle.
Well, I told you numerous times, and I told him, the boxing career was obviously great and all that, and he's a great guy, but the times we have been together, the many times we've been together, the topic has always been about business and life. And I, again, told him on the air, and I've told him in person, I don't just hear him, I listen to him. I don't just listen to him, I study him, because he's been successful and he does have a lot of common sense approach to things, and he's helped me out a lot, and hopefully some of the things I've said to him helped him.
I just want to know if he's watched my film yet.
Well, he was just in the UK. He was broadcasting announcing a fight.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know when he's coming back and all that.
I'm gonna follow up with him.
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
Come on, Ray. Come on.
He'll do it.
I know he will. He's good people. And then we had Nick on. Obviously, Nick's a great guy. Nick's a young guy. Nick's very passionate, very involved. Again, I've been watching. He's been putting more stuff on social media. I mean, he is legitimately, becoming the lack of a better term, a bullhorn in the Pittsburgh area for the Italian community. I mean, he is putting a lot of information out there for folks to follow along. So I do encourage you, if you haven't heard the last few episodes, please go check them out. I think they're pretty good episodes. With that being said, we do not disappoint with guests. And we are very fortunate to have a wonderful guest that I was introduced to. And I'm not even going to tell you how I was introduced to her because I can't even remember. And we just had dinner, last week. But this super secret guest, who's not going to be super secret for much longer, her name is Suzie Jackson. And I promised her before the show that I would make fun of her because she's Italian. But, unless they dropped the last vowel on Jackson, well.
And put an O on there.
And put an O on there.
Like
but
mine.
Yes. Suzie, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I'm glad to know that you, the food didn't bother you. We ate across from the campus. I won't say the name of the restaurant, but there are times, when I think I just eaten there too much.
No comment.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless they want to be a sponsor.
Well, that's what then the best food
best
ever.
place I've ever
That's
had.
why I don't say the names. No free PR, good or bad. Suzie, how are you? Like I said, it's been a whole week since we spoke last. How's life been?
It's been good. I've just been running around doing some of the nonprofit work. That's kind of my volunteer job, as it were. That keeps me pretty busy. But the weather's starting to change, and I'm a big fan. So
what's changing here? It's getting
busy.
hotter.
Well,
Pittsburgh feels like it's hotter.
Where do you live, Suzie?
Steubenville, Ohio.
Oh, well, it's not that much. Steve made it sound like you live in San Diego and we live here in Alaska.
It's like 90 degrees out. I don't know what you're
it's the
talking
same
about,
thing.
Suzie. Changing in what
I
way?
would not mind San Diego.
But Suzie, let's kind of dig into you a little bit because I do want to get to the nonprofit, and you're doing a lot of wonderful stuff. In fact, we're going to talk about the upcoming opera, the fundraiser and what that's for. And folks, stay tuned for that. But I also have a link down in the description you can click on, and I'm going to encourage folks throughout the show to support the effort. I think there's a lot of good efforts out there. I think there are a lot of people that are really doing good work, and they're just not heard. And and I think there's a lot of people that want to donate, but they want to find something that's worthy. And so, Suzie, we're going to talk a little bit about that because I do think it's a worthy cause. But first, I kind of jokingly said, hey, Jackson, Italian, come on. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so let's see. That's from my father's heritage, and there's zero Italian there. So all the Italian comes from my mom's side. It was through her mother that I'm Italian. So I guess my maternal grandmother's parents came over to Ellis Island, and they changed from Candore, which I think is beautiful, to Condor. And I was actually just looking up pictures of a condor today, and man, those birds are ugly. So that was an unfortunate change of name. But yes, Candore is the real Italian name in my heritage. Jackson, I think, is English.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to go back to that Condori. Have you never tried to get like a citizenship or anything to connect back there? We're going to talk about your sister in a little bit because she lives in Rome. Did you?
Correct.
So because the reason I asked that, a funny question is, have you ever run into issues with them having had changed your mother's real name when she came here?
Personally, I have not.
Okay, Claudio. Next question.
Where, where in Italy?
We can talk about my sister, but
We'll get there. She's not going to
Yeah.
steal your thunder today, Susie.
She's the cool one.
Where's your family from in Italy?
Teora. So I think that's a province in Avellino, which is
Yeah.
kind of central. It's kind of in the middle of the boot.
Yeah.
I haven't been there. I've actually tried to look it up and see what it's like. I'd love to visit someday, and there's not a lot online about Teora. So I think I just have to go there and see what it's like and try to see if I'm related to anyone.
Well, most likely. Now, let me ask you real quick though. When you were growing up, then considering I mean, you said your mother is off the boat, correct? Or off the airplane?
Oh no, sorry. My maternal so
okay.
my mom's dad. Yeah, so it's a little removed, unfortunately.
Okay. No, I'm just curious because how much have you done like for genealogy, or did that have any kind of impact when you were growing up? In other words, was there any connection left from the folks that came from Italy or even immigrated from another country to your experiences growing up? Because we are going to talk about your sister, who is an opera singer, who, if I'm not mistaken, does live in Italy. And I'm curious, when you were growing up, were any of those traditional roots part of your growing up?
Unfortunately not, and that's part of the reason I'm so excited about what my sister's done, and I'm really excited to have landed in a really Italian area, because growing up I was just kind of like any other, I don't want to say white American, but basically people ask your ethnicity and you're like, well, I'm a white person, and I don't know, I guess I'm a little German and a little Italian, and that's it. We didn't observe any of the Italian Christmas traditions. My sister kind of learned to make pasta on a whim. None of us learned to speak Italian. My mom would have some stories about her Italian grandmother, but that was about it. And I really feel that loss. You kind of don't feel like you're from anywhere when you don't have many traditions. And so my sister's kind of been trying to bring those back a little bit, and it's pretty exciting.
Is that something that you are planning on doing? Kind of starting the traditions, be it the holiday traditions, and or maybe even trying to pick up the language or knowing a little bit more about the Italian heritage and its people?
Yeah, absolutely. I just went to see her 2 years ago last fall in Rome, and unfortunately she wasn't there, but I got to stay in her apartment. She was singing an opera somewhere else. And that was my first time in Italy, and I had a couple days in Rome, and it was unbelievable. You kind of like feel like, oh yeah, like this kind of feels like part of me, or I'm part of it. So unfortunately, I have like 1,000 interests, and the nonprofit is kind of all consuming. But I would love to learn the language, and I definitely am going to go back to Italy for sure. And I hope to get to Teora someday as well.
Yeah, I hope you do. And for me, my parents were both born in Italy. I'm first generation born here. But my parents instilled that in me from day one. And of course, not only the family traditions and the food and the holidays and things like that, but also all the famous people who were Italian. And I was raised, knowing about Rocky Marciano, the boxing champion, and Joe DiMaggio, and so on and so forth. But when I went to the Italian Hall of Fame in Chicago a couple years ago for the first time, and they mentioned Marciano and Graziano and DiMaggio and Lombardi and just all those unbelievable Italian sports figures, and then all the businessmen and women that were at the banquet and being honored. And it just hit me even harder, which I didn't think it could. But I just felt, I don't know, like my Italian pride and honored to be Italian, and just that feeling ramped up even more, which again, I never thought it could. So hopefully you experience something like that, because it is special.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I moved to Steubenville, and I love living in Steubenville, is you kind of feel like there's a local identity. So growing up, my dad was in the Marine Corps, and so I was actually born in California, and I lived in England and Northern Virginia. So we moved around a good bit. My older sisters even lived in Maryland as well. And you kind of, as a military brat, you kind of feel like you're not from anywhere. And then my grandparents were both actually U.S. Marines, my grandma and my grandfather. And my grandfather fought in 3 wars. He was very distinguished. And so there was a very heavy American sense from my father's side that my grandparents really felt, we're very American. We're very proud of, grandfather fighting in World War II.
Sure.
So that maybe was the most influential heritage growing up.
And you know what? Let me interrupt. When I say proud about being Italian and all that, at the same time, my dad and my mom didn't want to, they loved it here, as do I, and very proud to be an Italian American for sure. I didn't want to give the impression that, I wasn't grateful from where I'm at, because as the former wrestling champion out of Pittsburgh, who was born in Abruzzi, Bruno Sammartino, said the greatest thing that ever happened to him was to come to America so he could achieve his goals and dreams. So I understand where your grandparents came from too. It's nice to have that connection to the motherland, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, not to be too critical of American traditions, but sometimes I really don't feel simpatico with buying a lot of stuff right after Thanksgiving or hot dogs on the 4th of July. I don't know, getting drunk on New Year's Eve. Some of this stuff really doesn't resonate with me. And
right.
I'm pretty Catholic, and so a lot of the Italian traditions are really cool and beautiful to me. And I think I might enjoy those more.
Sure.
Hey, let me ask you a question, because you're in Steubenville, and you said you're pretty Catholic. Is that what drew you there, or was it something else?
That's a big part of it. There's a lot of Catholics here, so you're not really weird if you're a Catholic here, which is pretty exciting.
I actually know somebody else who moved there. Well, I know somebody who moved there intentionally because it's kind of a home of the more. I don't say this in a bad way, but I think it's more traditional. This is where the Franciscan University is, and so there's a much more intense gathering of Catholics in that area. And I was just curious that's what was the reason you went there. Not that that's a bad reason.
Oh, yeah, so that's a big reason. The other big reason is that there's a lot of people who moved here during and after COVID, and we're trying to revitalize the town, and it's actually a lot of fun because it's pretty inexpensive here. And so people can actually buy up buildings and houses and renovate them far more than you could in Northern Virginia or Southern California, where I went to college. And with the number of people who moved here, I think we're really starting to make an impact. The housing prices are going up. People are opening up small businesses downtown. So it's really fun to be part of that.
Well, it's funny you say that. Like I said, I have a good friend of mine. He moved there for the reason of the Catholicism, and he kind of sort of echoed your thoughts. And by the way, I lived in the exact same places you lived. I was in Southern California for a while. I was in Virginia for a while. And yet you're not just buying a building. You better be a wealthy, investor to do that. But I want to kind of mention something. You mentioned before, you said, when you went to Rome, I had a different guest on the show, and she used this term, like a historical memory. She said, I'd never been to Italy, but the first time I went there, I felt like I'd been there before. And a very similar thing happened to me. Did you feel like when you went there, like almost like, where have you been all my life? Or like you were returning to something that you'd already been to?
Kind of, in a way. It might have been a little different because, I went to St. Peter's Basilica, and I've seen pictures of it before and videos of it. And so I was like, wow, it's finally here. I've seen you before. And there's just so many famous things in Rome. I think I watched Roman Holiday pretty shortly before going to Rome, maybe in the 2 years leading up to it. So that was kind of the sense that I had, that wow, it's actually all real. I've seen these famous, beautiful things before, and now I'm actually here. All
right, Suzie, this is kind of really interesting because, like I said, I had very similar experiences. And by the way, I will not forget it because I did the same thing. I watched Roman Holiday. It was Katharine Hepburn and,
not Cary Grant.
No, what was his name?
Gregory Peck.
Thank you. I watched that before I went.
Hepburn?
Oh, yeah. What's her name? Katharine Hepburn.
She's famous too.
That's right, there are. Anyways, but I remember watching that too because I'll tell you why. When they do the Trevi Fountain, that was the big famous scene there. And I remember the first time I went there, I was like, oh my God! I was like, like a little schoolgirl. I know. It was alright. But anyways, listen, we want to talk about the fundraiser because that is very important. So we're going to take a quick little break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about, yes, your sister's going to get some of the attention. I know, Suzie. But we're going to talk about her, and then we're going to talk about the fundraiser and what it's for. And folks, I hope you please stay tuned. We're going to come back, and again, I do think this is a good cause. So, Claudio, take it away.
All right, couple things. Don't forget about my book, Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up, How to Create a Positive Winning Culture on the Field and in the Office. They're all sold out at Barnes & Noble, but you can get it on my website at claudiorelsano.com. And while you're on that website, you can listen to my show, The Claudio Relsano Show, with many great guests such as Mario Andretti, Ken Griffey Sr., Rocky Blyer, Steve Mancini was on it, I believe, before. Just a bunch of great guests. And also some other shows I'm on. Sports Corner, hosted by Ralph Williams. We're on every Saturday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on 1250 The Answer, 92.5 FM. And as I said, 1250 AM The Answer, 2 to 3 with Smoky Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree, and myself. And also Steel City Sports World, where you can hear live every Wednesday on Facebook. Go to PGH Big Dog. That's Luther's channel, or SC Sports World. It's a great sports show. And on October 11th, Steve and I will be in the Columbus Day Parade in Bloomfield. That's an honor to be in that, and that's a very nice event. And October 18th, Steve, why don't you know a little bit more about that than I do, and I will be appearing there. It's a great Italian event, but Steve, if you want to give a few details on that.
Absolutely. So join us October 18th, the Spino Club in Morningside from 1 p.m. to, well, let's just say whenever, because we're going to have a lot of food, drink, dance, song, you name it, it's going to be there. We're going to have some wonderful guests, including the great Claudio Relsano. But we are lining up a few other guests to be there. Have a great time. It's a fundraiser for the honorary consulate here in Pittsburgh. But Steve, aren't you? That's right. We're raising money to help me pay the bleeping rent, because I think one little fun fact is a lot of folks don't know that I do not receive a payment. So that office building, I'm actually paying that out of pocket. And a lot of people said, hey, we want to help you out. So they decided to put on a fundraiser, and I'm very grateful. Domenica, Salvatore, Claudio, who's helping out with the guests, like the guest list. But Domenica, Salvatore from the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh are kind of spearheading this, and I want to thank them. They've been just a wonderful help since the day one when I took this over. And obviously I want to thank Marco Marzulli from La Scuola d'Italia Galileo, who's been helping with a lot of setting up a lot of the social media stuff. So I want to thank you all for getting this thing organized. That's October 18th, 1 p.m. at the Spino Club in Morningside. And you can check out the details on the Honorary Consulate website.
Ciao, Chrissy. Your Italian got so much better. Brava.
Grazie. It's because I learned the best way possible.
How so?
Well, I learned that with apps, grammar books, and even YouTube videos, I could only get so far. I had to immerse myself. I noticed I did best when I was in Italy visiting family. That's where my level really soared.
And wow, did it work?
Thanks. I became much more confident, fast. That's why I created Footsteps Through Time. It's an Italian language experience. You don't just take Italian classes, you immerse yourself in a real Italian village. With lots of fun activities and excursions, it's life-changing.
I see. So, no more boring grammar, impersonal apps, just real conversations, real culture, and delicious food, of course.
Exactly. I'm so excited about this. Learn Italian by actually becoming part of the local community for a week and living it. So if you've been dreaming of Italy and the language, check out Footsteps Through Time in Italy.com. Book now and join the experience.
Andiamo!
Thanks to Greater Pittsburgh Travel. For any of your travel needs, let Tom and the team at Greater Pittsburgh Travel know, and they'll take care of you. For more information, call 412-331-2244 or visit their website at www.greaterpittsburghtravel.com. Did your parents or grandparents ever talk about the Vietnam War? The Hardest Year, a love story and letters during the Vietnam War, is an accurate portrayal of what life was like during the 1960s, a time of the draft, equal rights, and the anti-war movement. Follow newlyweds through their letters as they navigate 1 year of the war an ocean apart. The Hardest Year by Carol and William Wagner is available now wherever books are sold. And we want to thank the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in learning more, you can find their contact information on Facebook at Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. Again, thanks Domenica and the team at the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh for your support. And we want to thank La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei, the only nonprofit school in Pittsburgh endorsed by the Italian Consulate. If you're interested in learning Italian or have your children being immersed in the Italian culture and language, be sure to give them a call at 412-404-7070. And that's La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei. We'd also like to thank Chris Gonzalez from the Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions about joining the Knights of Columbus, reach out to Chris Gonzalez at 412-605-9074. All right, welcome back. And Suzie, let's kind of pick up now. Let's kind of talk a little bit about your sister, because she is an opera singer in Rome. And then let's talk about the event coming up and then what it's for. So let's talk about your sister a little bit. She's obviously, if you're singing opera in Rome, you're no scrub, So she obviously started at a young age and went to school. Talk a little bit about her. What inspired her, and how did she get so good?
Yeah, she's very cool. I think at the age of 12, she saw a production of Phantom of the Opera, and I think she saw that and said, "I'm going to do that." And ever since then, she's pursued opera. She's very impressive. So she went to Peabody Conservatory at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, and then she completed a master's at Temple University, and then she studied for several years under Marilla Frani, and she was close friends with Pavarotti. And she still to this day, she's been in this, I guess since 2007 she graduated from Peabody Conservatory. So she's been doing this for a long time, almost 20 years, and she still takes voice lessons. So it's a very interesting kind of career that she's had, because she'll take on new roles and then still have to learn languages or how to sing in German, Russian, French, Italian. So she moved to Italy. She fell in love with Italy, and she actually became a citizen a couple years ago. And she has this beautiful apartment in Rome, and it was really cool visiting it. I digress. So she primarily sings in European opera houses. I think she probably sings most commonly in Germany, but she has sung in a lot of different countries, very frequently sung Tosca. She's been the title role in numerous productions, Anna Bolena. I think I saw her in La Bohème in England. And so she's just had this really exciting career singing these very difficult pieces, often being the title role. And so her life is always kind of crazy, though, because these performances will pop up. She'll be invited to auditions, and so we never really know when we're going to see her. She surprised us for Thanksgiving in 2020, and we were all amazed because she often can't come for holidays if she has an opera or if auditions pop up. So we rarely get to see her sing. She's in Santa Fe Opera, I think in 2017 maybe, but I don't think she's sung in America since then. And that's still a bit of a flight to get all the way to Santa Fe, New Mexico from Virginia, where most of my family is. So it's really, really special that I offered to compensate her, and she said, no, she's going to cover her flight. She's singing pro bono for us. And I'm actually going to have a lot of family coming in town to Steubenville, driving from Virginia and Western Ohio to come see her sing at the Sycamore Center. I'm really excited for my family. I've been able to see her sing because I haven't been married, I haven't had kids, and so I've kind of had the freedom to hop on flights and go see her in operas in other countries. I've seen her in Germany and England, Santa Fe, but now she's coming to Ohio, to Steubenville no less, to sing, and we're really excited to see her.
You mentioned your sister's scholastic years. I believe you said Johns Hopkins, and then she went to Temple. But I guarantee you, like even with my career in baseball, it wasn't, okay, do well in high school, do well in college, and you go to pro. No, it was a lot of ups and downs. I'm sure it wasn't a straight path for her. Like with some professions, you do well in high school, you go to a good college, get good grades, you apply for a job, and you get it, and you're off. It was not like that for her, I'm pretty sure, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the craziest thing, maybe for opera singers of all time, was COVID.
Wow.
COVID shut down opera for a while, and her profession was greatly hanging in the balance. Her whole career was up in the air. She didn't know to what degree opera would be able to be opened up after this pandemic. Italy took such a big hit during COVID as well. So I think that was a really tough time for her, to not be able to do the one thing that she passionately loves to do, is to sing opera. But eventually the opera houses started opening up again, and the restrictions were lifted, and so she got right back into it. But I think that was probably the craziest of the ups and downs. But absolutely, it's a little bit like craftsmanship or being like a tradesman, where you get good at the thing, but you don't necessarily get jobs because of all of the schooling that you've done. You kind of have to keep doing productions and keep going to auditions and make a name for yourself that way.
Now let's talk specifically. She's going to be coming here in a few weeks, and she's going to be singing in Steubenville. Where's she going to be singing, and what's the actually, what is she going to be singing? Let's start there, and where in Steubenville?
Yeah, great question. She's going to be singing at the Sycamore Center. So that's in downtown Steubenville. It's this beautiful old church that is run by Bobby John and Pamela Bauman. They do some amazing work with kids in after-school programs. So it's at 7:30 p.m. at the Sycamore Center, downtown Steubenville. The repertoire is a little bit of a mystery. I don't know everything that she's singing, but I do know she's going to be singing some selections from La Boheme and Tosca. She's sung in full productions of both of those. And then she said she's trying out some new Verismo repertoire, which is dramatic Italian realism from the 1900s. And then some of the things I'm ashamed I cannot pronounce. But it's going to be a surprise, and I think we're going to include the translations in the programs, which I think should be very helpful.
And I did buy my tickets. I want you to know. I bought them yesterday. So
I saw that.
Did you really?
So much.
You're
Yes,
really
I get an
eyeballing to make
email
sure he buys his
notification.
ticket. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to be there, and I'm really.
When is it again?
That's a Saturday, October
4th.
at 7:30 p.m. So just over 2 weeks out.
Yep, and we're going to put that on the website. So hopefully, or on the podcast description. So please go down there and check that out. Now let's talk about what are we raising money for.
Yeah, so I work at the hospital in Steubenville, and I work inpatient only. And I've noticed that some of the homeless patients fall through the cracks. And Steubenville has had a rough history. When the steel industry left this area, the economy kind of crashed in the 90s and in the early 2000s. It was at its lowest. So we have a lot of homeless and a huge percentage of people living under the poverty line. And so I started a nonprofit in January this year, 2025, with the goal of providing transitional housing. So in Steubenville, we have emergency housing, so like homeless shelters, and we have permanent supportive housing that's run by the government, but we don't have anything in between, and you're usually supposed to. And so transitional housing is usually a period of 2 to 3 years where people come off the streets, they come out of the shelters, and they have 2 to 3 years to stabilize, hopefully get a job, get some counseling, and reintegrate into society so that they're ready to live in a stable way once they get government housing. The problem we've been having is that people come right out of the emergency shelters. They've only been there for 30 days, 60 days. They get permanent housing, and then they're not ready for it. They break the lease agreement somehow, and they're back on the streets, and they can't reapply for 5 years. So we're trying to step in and provide some of that housing that's lacking, and then have our homeless people volunteer locally, have them rebuild their resumes. We'll require that they participate in counseling, and then we'll slowly walk them along the road to self-sufficiency with the goal of getting them into their own private housing. I have put an offer in on a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house in Steubenville. We're very excited. It needs a little work, some renovation. It's technically move-in ready, but it could use some work. So this fundraiser, I'm hoping, will provide the money that we need to fundraise the house to make it a really wonderful place to welcome these people who have had very difficult life experiences, and then get the community to walk with them on their journey.
You know, Suzie, this isn't a question, but a comment. A lot of people say they may complain about or just talk about homeless situation. You're not doing that. You're actually doing something about it. And I give you a lot of credit. That's fantastic, and I wish you all the best with that. That's fantastic that you have the heart that you really want to do something like that. And I'm sure it's not easy. It does take a lot of time, but I give you a lot of credit for that.
Thank you, Claudia. I really appreciate that. You know, something I've noticed, and I haven't really been able to engage with, is how much people follow national and federal politics, and people say, Trump just did XYZ. Like, what do you think about that? And I'm like, I don't even know that he did XYZ. I don't have really influence over what the White House does. I don't have influence over what the big federal government does. So I've never been super interested in following politics at that level, because I kind of feel like it's going to stress me out. I'm going to disagree with things, and I can't fix it. So I've really try to spend a lot of my time that I would in following politics nationally and just really distill it down to somewhere where I could actually make a difference. People would actually listen to me, and I can actually know what's happening. So I just find local politics to be so much more interesting in the local issues. So I think people would do more if they maybe paid more attention to what's happening locally.
Yeah, stupid question, but you hear about people applying for grants. Is that something that you can do? Are there grants available for such a thing?
Yes, there's a lot of grants out there. Some of the research that I've done about nonprofits and that some of my board has done is that it can be a tricky situation if a nonprofit becomes dependent on grant money, because that is not really sustainable. It's not necessarily sustainable, right? It's a better fundraising model if you can get a group of like-minded donors to become regular donors. So I did just apply for a big grant at the local hospital. And we're going to consider grants here and there, but we're really trying to network locally and just say, hey, like, you live in Steubenville, that should be all you need to care about this issue, because
Right.
when the homeless are served better, the housing prices go up, the crime goes down, the town is more beautiful, the small businesses do better, investors want to move in because the place is on the up and up. And so this issue, I think, should bring in the town as a whole around this cause. It's really not any particular faction, but everyone, including the homeless people, everyone benefits if homeless outreach is improved.
And again, another comment that I don't know if this is, I guess I was right about the grants because you're applying for them, but maybe there are events or organizations in Steubenville that have fundraisers. Maybe, just maybe, you can connect with them and say, hey, could you give a piece of that to our organization?
Yeah, excellent idea. Really, at the root of what we're trying to do is network within the town and make this be something that the town does. And so, absolutely, if there are local organizations that are willing to donate or partner with, we're partnering with a lot of the local organizations to do these services. So for our healthcare, counseling, volunteering. But you're right, in terms of fundraising, that's absolutely a really good way to go about this, is to partner with local existing organizations that either fundraise or give grants.
There's a friend of mine who was on our show. His name is Jerry Cooney. He was a legendary heavyweight boxer, very popular, good guy. Years ago, he started something called FIST, and I forgot what it stood for. But he was trying to help boxers who were homeless, who were hurting, who didn't have insurance, who were, sick. One of the things he suggested, and it's a fantastic idea, but it never took off, was all these humongous boxing events where some of these guys are getting 36 million, 42 million, and the arenas are sold out. He said $1 from the ticket. Let's say there was an event in Vegas, let's say, or in Dallas has been the new Vegas for boxing, 36,000, 46,000 people. Just $1 of that. And for whatever reason, it never came through. And again, Suzie, $1 damn. I'm a big believer that, small steps, you get 100 here, 200 here, 50 here, it adds up. So, your job is not easy. People might think that all you have to do is say, this is our project. No, you need help. You need people to really do something for these events and chip in and donate. It doesn't have to be $1 zillion, but everything helps, as they say.
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, what you're talking about, especially in Steubenville, it's all about the relationships. And to me, that's the most exciting part of all of this. It's the most time-consuming, which is a little bit of a struggle because I have a full-time job in addition to this. But, yeah, getting to know people, proving to them that you're trustworthy and that you're sincere, and hearing their concerns, and just really sharing the dream and seeing who wants to be a part of it with you. I've been doing a lot of that this year, and I really love having the chance to sit down with people. And so building those relationships, I think, will hopefully lead to what you're talking about. Like, hey, I think we both are on the same page about where this town should go, and the dire need to help the homeless. How can we team up to make this a better town.
All right, Suzie. I think it's a good cause. That's why I said I'm supporting it. And I encourage anyone to listen, even if you can't make the event, you can always donate. 10, like Claudia said, $10, $15, $20. We can all afford that. A couple of cups of coffee. We can all afford it. Suzie, where can folks go to learn more about your organization? And then give me one more time on the specifics on the event and where they can go buy tickets.
Yeah, one thing I want to say really fast about what you were saying is that we actually have a ticket now that's a donation ticket. So if you can't make it, if you already have plans, or if opera is not really your thing, you can buy a ticket so that someone who doesn't have the funding, or maybe some of our priests or nuns here who don't really have the funding, or hopefully some homeless people can attend the production. So if you want to donate as well and buy some tickets for people, that would be great. So our website is www.h as in homeward, b as in bound, Steubenville.org. We also have a big Facebook page. The problem is that Homeward Bound is a very common name for dog shelters, animal shelters, homeless shelters. So you have to put in Homeward Bound of Steubenville, otherwise you probably won't find us. That's where you'll see a lot more of the current things that we're posting on Facebook. And then we have an Eventbrite listing for ticket sales. And so you can find those if you just search for Eventbrite, Steubenville Opera. And if you guys can include a link in the description, I think that would probably be the easiest way for people to find it.
Yep, I'm going to put that down in the description so folks can go take a look. Click on the links. Please support Suzie. Suzie, final word.
Final word, Sycamore Center, downtown Steubenville, October 4th, 7:30 p.m. Doors open at 6:30. Thank you so much, guys, for having me on your show. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about things that I love, health, Italy,
Nice.
homeless people.
That's how we roll, Suzie. This is how we roll. But
I like how you roll.
I'm gonna see you in 2 weeks, and again, I'm looking forward to this. I do want to hear her sing. I've actually always, this is weird. I've never been in opera where I could tell you what it was, but I was always a classical music guy. So if there was where there were certain things where they would sing, and I'll tell you what, to this day I will tell you, thank you, Bugs Bunny.
Forget, we've
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's
Bugs
right.
Bunny turned so many people on to Wagner.
It's crazy because the Sopranos play a lot of great
Yeah.
opera during that show. And I'll tell you something, we've had Danielle Paston. I don't know if
right.
you know who she is. Suzie, she's a local opera singer who does
We've had a
very well.
couple opera and or opera related folks
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
show, so it's
But,
been again, we're opera guys apparently. We just didn't know it. But Suzie, I want to thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person. I do wish you the best of luck with the fundraiser, and if I have to make some phone calls, hold on. That's me doing the fisting, to get some donations. We'll do what we got to do. But Suzie, I want to thank you again for joining me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Wonderful. Hey, can I just add one more thing?
Sure,
something
Suzie.
Thank you. Something else that's really exciting is that our piano accompanist is a friend of mine, Sadie Hoyt. She grew up just outside of Steubenville, actually, so she's a local girl from the area. She's one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. She completed her master's degree at Catholic University of America, CUA in D.C., in piano accompaniment. So she's the real deal. Just like my sister, if you go on my sister's website or Sadie's website, you can see recordings of them, and it's just so impressive, the hours of work that they pour into these pieces. It really shows when you watch the videos or listen to the recordings they have on their websites. Sadie also is an entrepreneur and is working very hard on a classical curriculum. So she is introducing children, primarily homeschoolers, but she has the curricula for anyone who's interested to classical music. So it's very beautiful. It's on her website. And I'm just so proud of the work that Shelley and Sadie are doing. It's really awesome to see. I've never seen them both on stage before because they've never performed before, but I think it's going to be unbelievably beautiful.
I'm glad you brought her up because I was going to mention her because the flyer and everything. So I'm glad you brought her up.
Yeah.
And I am excited for it. No, I'm actually excited for this. So I will see you in 2 weeks. Claudio, as always, we have completed another show. We're well over 100 shows now. I think we're up to about 120-ish.
Wow.
So can you believe it? It feels like yesterday.
That was quick,
Feels like
yeah.
yesterday. But folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank our listeners from all over the world. Grazie mille per i nostri ascoltatori. All we can do is say thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule, out of your life, to spend it with us. Claudio, have the final word, please.
Suzie, thank you again, and best of luck with this great cause. We appreciate you, and we appreciate our audience. And make sure that you connect with Suzie on that website. And as always, thank you, Mom and Pop.